Tonight, environmental cleanup at the expense of an industry. A provincial decision tears at a community.
It's been a long time coming. I'm very grateful.
He just decimated rural Nova Scotia.
We're in Pictou County with the case of Boat Harbor.
I realized, wait a second, this feels like an ambush.
He was targeted by two notorious killers, but escaped to tell the tale. A CBC News exclusive.
The ayes have it. The ayes have it.
UK lawmakers vote to leave the EU within the next 6 weeks. And Rosie talks with novelist and new Canadian John Irving.
This is a very conscious choice. I want to live here. I love it here.
The creator of Garp on life, writing, and of course, Donald Trump. This is The National. Save jobs or protect the environment. It was a tough call either way, but today Nova Scotia's premier made that call, and the northern pulp mill in Pictou County will close. Hundreds work at the mill itself, which supports thousands of other jobs, but it's been a major polluter for decades, dumping toxic effluent into Boat Harbor. In 2015, the province told the mill it had 5 years to stop doing that, but it has not. Kayla Hounsell picks up the story.
If this closes, I don't know where we're going to be at.
Kimberly McLaughlin is waiting for the Premier's announcement. She works at the Northern Pulp Mill. Her husband works in the forestry sector. Her son is a millwright.
It's going to affect every member of my family, and even affect my parents. My parents lease a property from Northern Pulp.
Finally, Premier Stephen McNeil takes the podium.
The company has put us all in a very difficult position, and now it is decision time.
Oh my God.
McNeil decided not to grant the mill an extension, not to allow it to keep pumping its effluent into a body of water near an Indigenous community as it has for decades. It forces the closure of the mill because by law it can't keep using its current waste treatment facility after January 31st. But it means the Premier keeps his promise to the Pictou Landing First Nation. Chief Andrea Paul says this move puts an end to what she calls environmental racism.
It's been a long time coming. I'm very grateful to Premier Stephen McNeil.
But forestry officials say the mill supports 2,700 jobs. Thousands more in the forestry sector could also be at risk just days before Christmas.
I know this could not have come at a worse time for you.
The Premier also announced a $50 million transition fund to help the people who work here at the mill and others in the forestry sector. Not enough for some.
He just decimated rural Nova Scotia. So if that's his legacy that he wants, he's certainly going to get it.
Today, we will begin the process of delivering layoff and contract cancellation notices, and we'll start implementing plans to close Northern Pulp.
Kimberly McLaughlin says the community is deeply divided.
I've never been so emotionally attached to something that I celebrated somebody else losing their job and losing their livelihoods, and it's been all over social media, and I think it's disgusting.
Thank you. And then she went back to work while she still can. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Pictou, Nova Scotia.
And Tom Murphy, the host of CBC Nova Scotia News, joins us from the Pictou waterfront. And Tom, when you look at the reaction to this story, it is complicated.
It is. You know, you think about some of the families here, they have an Indigenous person, a pulp worker, and also a fisherman in the same family or extended family. So it does get complicated. I was at a sawmill today where the management was telling staff, please do not take this decision out on people, because they now face job losses as they head into the Christmas season. So it's difficult for them. On the flip side, fishermen are delighted. Treated effluent will no longer be piped into the Northumberland Strait after January 31st of 2020. This is certainly the talk of the town here in Pictou. Have a listen.
I believe that it is the right decision for the environment.
I wish they would have done something years ago. Just a water treatment plant or whatever it was going to be.
Keeping the mill open just wasn't feasible, in my opinion. So I just hope that their transition does happen and it happens in a quick manner that benefits the family so they're not negatively impacted.
And so, Tom, what now?
Well, the mill turns its attention to shutting itself down. That won't happen overnight, but the pink slips are expected to fly before too long. The forestry industry is looking at reshaping itself. Woodlot owners are wondering what they're going to do with their wood products. Sawmills wonder what happens to their products. A lot of questions surrounding that as the province tries to put together a transition strategy now heading into the days and weeks ahead. There is still plenty of uncertainty here in Pictou County. Ian?
All right, Tom. Thank you. We have the latest on that fatal shooting at the South Walmart in Red Deer. There was a lot of misinformation on social media tonight, so let's go through what has been confirmed. The RCMP says a 69-year-old man was shot, rushed to hospital where he died, that no one else was injured, and so police made a point of saying those rumors of multiple victims are incorrect. They also say suspects in 2 cars may have been involved. New and chilling details tonight on a story that gripped the country last summer. A nationwide hunt for 2 teenagers who killed 3 people in northern BC. Briar Schmigelski and Cam McLeod left home on July 12. Less than a month later, they were found dead deep in the Manitoba wilderness. Among the new documents, the identity of a man who police say came so close to becoming a 4th victim. Tanya Fletcher got an exclusive interview with him from Alaska.
At that point, I realized this feels like an ambush.
Ken Albertson recounts the terrifying night he found himself in the crosshairs of Canada's most wanted killers. It was 2 days after China Dees and Lucas Fowler were found dead near Liard Hot Springs, and 2 days before Leonard Dick was discovered dead near Dees Lake. Around midnight, July 17th, Albertson was driving along a remote stretch of the Alaska Highway when he pulled over to take a nap in his pickup truck. He says that's when a truck with a camper, believed to belong to the fugitives, slowly approached and came to a stop.
And then the passenger door on the truck opened and someone stepped out holding a long gun. And at that point, he started what I would call stalking behavior. Slightly crouched, walking as if he's trying to walk quietly, holding his gun in what I would call a low ready position.
Albertson says the other vehicle suddenly started moving closer as if to box him in.
So I leaped over the back seat, started up the truck, put it in gear, and roared out of there. As I went by the truck, I looked directly, and the driver turned his head and put his hand up like that, like he didn't want me to see him.
Albertson drove away and didn't look back. His chilling account is one of the many puzzle pieces revealed in the newly unsealed court documents. They include CCTV images of Briar Schmigelski and Cam McLeod at a sporting goods store the day they left home. It's where they'd purchased this rifle that was ultimately found next to their bodies. The documents reveal McLeod's final text message to his girlfriend: "Seriously sorry, but I'm not coming back." They also say Schmigelski had recently attempted to start dating McLeod's sister, but was rejected. They also detail more than a dozen items found next to Dick's body: McDonald's French fries, a Red Bull can, a Molson beer can, cigarette butts, and Zap straps. Matching bullet casings were found at the crime scenes, and search warrants suggest police were looking for edged weapons too. They suggest each of the victims suffered a series of separate injuries, but the specifics have been blacked out. It leaves only more questions about the motive in a mystery that may never be solved. Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Vancouver.
Ken Albertson lives in Alaska but says he's gone back to where that encounter took place. Here's more of what he had to say for the record.
All I can say is, but for the grace of God, there go I when I see those other victims. And, later on in the year, I took another trip. I went down to Haines, Alaska, and so I passed by all these areas on the way. And it was interesting. I had a very emotional reaction. I stopped at those places on the way just to process, and it was a much more emotional experience than I expected. I've been in different dangerous situations at various points in life, but realizing that you may have been actually targeted by somebody intending ill will, it's sobering.
Schmigelski and McLeod left 6 videos behind on a digital camera they stole from one of the victims. The RCMP described the videos as suicide notes and say the young man admitted to the murders. A safe ending tonight to a drama that's been unfolding all day. An Alberta toddler who was the subject of an Amber Alert has been found unharmed, and a man is under arrest.
We were able to locate, and they are both safe.
Roads were blocked around the rural community of Brule while police searched. The RCMP not giving any information about charges, adding they are still investigating. Toronto's police chief held a year-end news conference in what has been a very violent year. In 2019, an average of about 2 people have been shot in the city every day. Katie Nicholson gives us a look at a Canadian city under the gun and how it's not the only one.
Yellow tape wrapped around a Toronto neighborhood last week, marking yet another scene of gun violence, this one taking the life of a 22-year-old man.
There appears to be more prevalence of firearms in the city. We are arresting people quite often. I mean, we've seized over 800 guns.
Numbers from the Toronto Police Service show more than 700 people have been shot in the last year, and overall, a 16% increase in shooting incidents over the previous year, a trend steadily increasing over the last 5 years. It's not just Toronto. It's been a record-breaking year for gun violence in Winnipeg, where 16 were fatally shot. Calgary, too, has had a higher-than-average number of shootings this year. Toronto Councillor Joe Cressy wants Ottawa to step up and help cities get a handle on the problem.
Fundamentally, we need stronger gun control, and that means a national ban on handguns, full stop. Not restrictions on where handguns can go, not the ability for cities to restrict handguns, a national ban.
Guns flow across the border from the U.S., and there's another steady supply, bought here legally and then sold on the streets. But the founder of the Zero Gun Violence movement says guns are only part of the problem.
We cannot be talking about banning handguns if we're not talking about banning poverty. We cannot be talking about creating more programs if we don't do a needs assessment with the communities involved in it, right? Most of these communities are programmed to death, but they're not the right programs for the right people at the right time and in the right place.
This is not just a policing problem.
Toronto's Police Association agrees action needs to be taken, and fast.
The perception is that the gun crime is out of control, that the shootings are out of control.
And until it's under control, more scenes like this, more yellow tape. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to the latest in tensions between Canada and China. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau revealing he's asked Washington to exert more pressure on Beijing to release those 2 detained Canadians. China's response? Ganging up won't work, and Canada has been doing Washington's bidding at its own peril. Katie Simpson explains.
China is taking its toughest stance yet. A top state spokesman warned Prime Minister Justin Trudeau he is doomed to fail if he thinks the U.S. will help secure the release of 2 Canadians from Chinese custody. In cryptic and possibly threatening comments, the spokesman leaned on an old Chinese saying to hammer home his point. Those who pull other people's chestnuts out of the fire will only end up burning themselves. Yesterday, Trudeau revealed he's asked the U.S. to resist finalizing a trade agreement with China unless Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig are released. CBC News has learned the idea was first pitched months ago by Canada's then ambassador in Washington. A source says David McNaughton asked the Trump administration to treat the Michaels as if they are American, since the U.S. put Canada in this position. Beijing detained the Canadians in what is widely seen as retaliation for Canada's arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou on an American extradition request.
The only one who are going to dictate the foreign policy of Canada is the government of Canada.
In an interview with CBC Radio's The House, the Foreign Affairs Minister stood by Trudeau. And one former Canadian ambassador to China is hopeful President Donald Trump is open to making Canada's case.
I think they would run the risk of being alone themselves, because countries would say, well, why would we help you after we have seen what you have done to the Canadians? So for that reason, I hope that Mr. Trump will think twice.
Trump spoke by phone today with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And in all of the reporting about that conversation, there are no mentions of Canada. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Just days after the U.S. House of Representatives voted to impeach Donald Trump, its leader has invited him to give the State of the Union. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi asked Trump to present the annual speech on February the 4th, quote, in the spirit of respecting the Constitution. The president promptly accepted. Depending on how fast impeachment moves in the Senate, Trump could be delivering an address in one chamber of Congress while he's on trial in the other. For now, those impeachment proceedings are in limbo. Congress has recessed for the holidays without articles of impeachment being sent from the House to the Senate. Donald Trump is furious about that, but he's also angry about an attack from an unlikely source. Jacqueline Hansen has the details.
Prayer and politics often go hand in hand for President Trump, but a prominent voice of the evangelical community has broken away from the crowd. In a scathing new editorial, the magazine Christianity Today is calling for President Trump to be removed from office, describing Trump's actions with Ukraine as both unconstitutional and profoundly immoral, saying he abused his authority for personal gain.
The question is, when does his behavior, which is described as immoral accurately, rise to the level where he's no longer fit to serve office? And to me, we cross that line with the impeachment hearings.
Today, President Trump fired back multiple times, tweeting the magazine is doing poorly and claiming no president has ever done what I have done for evangelicals or religion itself. The magazine was founded by the late evangelist Billy Graham, a regular advisor to U.S. presidents. In an interview with Fox News, his son says he would have disagreed with the editorial.
My father knew Donald Trump, believed in Donald Trump, and in this last election, he voted for Donald Trump. And if he were here today, I'm sure he would tell you that himself.
It was the support of evangelicals that helped get Trump here. They make up at least a quarter of the U.S. population, and a recent poll says about 80% of white evangelicals still support him. But even some Republicans say the editorial shows there's a crack in Trump's coalition.
Using the power of the presidency to attack individuals so viciously and personally, over time, that is just not what Christians will accept as good behavior.
Trump's last stop tonight before the holidays, signing a bill for military spending.
God bless you, God bless our military, and God bless America. God bless.
An attempt to end a day and week of division with a show of strength. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Washington.
Up next on The National, a win tonight for Boris Johnson and his Brexit plan. Now what? And we explore an experimental new treatment for alcohol addiction with the first Canadian patient. Plus,
don't feel you have to hold back or anything.
The National interview with John Irving, the author, Oscar winner, now new Canadian. He sits down with Rosie. All that's still ahead. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau confirming tonight that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, will be in Canada for the holidays. He called them friends and wished them a pleasant and peaceful stay. In less happy news tonight, Prince Philip is in hospital. Buckingham Palace says the Queen's 98-year-old husband is there for observation and treatment of an already existing condition. Prince Philip retired from active royal duties in April 2018. In recent years, he's been treated for a bladder infection, a blocked coronary artery, and has had a hip replacement. The Queen is going ahead with her regular Christmas holiday at Sandringham. UK lawmakers have made it official. One way or the other, the UK will leave the European Union by the end of next month. It is a major step on the long march to Brexit. But as Renee Filipponi reports, the road ahead is still an uphill climb.
For years, nearly every day, this was the scene outside Westminster. Leave and remain, trying to be heard. But since the election, just a couple protesters remain. Brexit looks like a sure thing.
The oven is on, so to speak. It is set at gas mask 4. We can have it done by lunchtime or late lunch.
And he did.
To the left.
To no one's surprise, MPs finally voted through Boris Johnson's EU withdrawal bill.
So the ayes have it.
With a decisive majority. Even some Labour MPs supported it, despite major issues the outgoing party leader has with the deal.
There is a better and fairer way for this country to leave the European Union. One which would not risk ripping our communities apart.
Those concerns will do little to stop Johnson. His party has the power now. But getting the withdrawal deal passed here is just the first hurdle.
And this is a hurdle race with 10, 20 hurdles down the track. And
those hurdles are getting a trade deal with the EU, getting some kind of trade deal with the United States.
The UK will have 1 year to strike a deal with the EU before the transition period expires. Johnson has promised there will be no extension to that deadline, which means it's still possible Britain could crash out of the EU. This political author says Europe won't make it easy.
If Britain does get out of the EU and then does it quite easily and then flourishes, well, that's an open invitation to other countries to quit the EU also.
Boris Johnson succeeded where his predecessor, Theresa May, failed 3 times. The bill should get royal assent by the end of January, putting Britain one step further on a path that will change its future. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
And we're also watching stories developing from across Canada. A Toronto-born son of Russian spies spoke with reporters tonight after getting to keep his Canadian citizenship. The Supreme Court of Canada says Alexander Vavilov is a Canadian citizen, and that cannot be revoked despite what his parents may have done.
It feels good to finally have the relief and the certainty of knowing that I don't have to fight anymore over this basic rights that I've always felt were true.
His parents lived in deep cover in Canada and the United States for years until they were arrested by the FBI in 2010. Until yesterday's ruling, that had left the future of their 2 Toronto-born sons up in the air. Here in BC, 2 major highways that connect Vancouver to the rest of Canada have been shut down as winter weather pummels parts of the province.
It's been quite the storm up here.
Last night, nearly a meter of fresh snow fell on some major highways. 1 and 3 remain closed in both directions. At the start of one of the year's busiest travel weekends, people are being urged to stay off these roads. Storm and snowfall warnings from Environment Canada remain in place, and heavy snowfall is expected to continue in the area through Saturday afternoon. Thousands of people turned out today in Winnipeg to pay their respects to RCMP officer Alan Popst. A funeral mass was held in his honor. The streets were lined with those watching the regimental procession. The 49-year-old officer died last Friday in a highway crash. He was on duty when his police vehicle was hit by a truck. The father of 3 was described by friends as someone who went out of his way to help others. We'll be right back with a look at how Hollywood is turning back the clock.
Now we apply the magic wand and... My face in your monitor.
It's true.
Eli Glasner tests out the technology right after the break. Plus, this cruise ship collision caught on video. All that is ahead on The National.
Hiya, Frank. Would you like to be a part of history?
Yes, I would.
As the race for the Oscars heats up, The Irishman is a serious contender. The latest from Martin Scorsese features Robert De Niro playing hitman Frank Sheeran across 5 decades. To follow the actors over half a century, the movie applied what's called digital de-aging. But the technology is changing more than actors' faces. With more, here's Eli Glasner.
I heard you paint houses. Yes.
From a rejuvenated Robert De Niro in The Irishman to Will Smith seeing double in Gemini Man, or Robert Downey Jr.'s Jr., Hollywood's top echelon of actors have found the fountain of youth at the click of a button.
What happens around here?
This Montreal company is one of many responding to the de-aging demand. For this 2011 Quebec film, de-aging the actors instead of recasting was the simplest solution.
We have been asked recently for several projects to do tests, and there's one that we're working on right now where we're doing quite a bit of de-aging.
Hello?
The tool is also increasing the range of roles for actors. In The Irishman, digital de-aging allowed director Martin Scorsese to work with 76-year-old Robert De Niro for a story stretching over 5 decades.
You have my face in your monitor?
To demonstrate the potential, Rodeo FX decided to de-age my 46-year-old face.
Got some wrinkles, a little bit of gray. Now we apply the magic wand and... Wow. I'm getting a little bit of early high school flashback.
In just a few hours, I've gone back decades.
So it's thicker at the hairline.
Nice, sure.
Tightening up the skin, rounding out the face a little bit.
How young did you get? You're not that
Digital
old.
media expert Sarah Beijing was impressed by my transformation.
Wow.
But less impressed by the limits of the technology in The Irishman.
What was less convincing, of course, were then the full body shots where you saw the way in which the characters moved. And so there was at times a kind of a disconnect between what the faces looked like and the kind of convincing nuance of the face and the shadow and things like that.
And the dots are tracking dots.
Nevertheless, some actors are already joking about computers extending their careers.
What I'm excited about is now there's a completely digital 23-year-old version of myself that I can make movies with now.
It is, of course, a huge impact, not just in who gets cast, but does anyone get cast?
But this director says the biggest roadblock to full digital actors is our brains.
This lizard brain says something's wrong, and that leads you into this place called the uncanny valley, is the animation term, and it just is off-putting.
So while the uncanny valley should keep digital actors out of auditions, digital de-aging could add years to megastar careers. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
And a movie that does more than de-age, it brought Carrie Fisher back from the dead, has earned $40 million on its opening night.
We'll always be with you.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker had the 5th highest domestic opening of all time. Now, as good as that sounds, it's less than the previous 2 movies in the series, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Up next, the national interview with John Irving.
This is a love story, not a political story.
The best-selling author on why he finally decided to become a Canadian citizen. A sit-down interview next. But first, in case you missed it, OC Transpo, Ottawa's public transit, is trying to lure new bus drivers with some stark truth in advertising. Its recruitment page says drivers should expect no summer vacation for up to 10 years, expect to work weekends for 5 to 10 years, and to work 12 out of 14 days, including some split shifts. That's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a gap in the middle for 3 to 5 years. But to hear some drivers, that's still sugarcoating the job.
We see these people standing on the street corner waiting for us when we're a half hour late. We're here to deliver a service. We're not being given the tools to adequately deliver that.
There's the overcrowded, underserved routes, the 100+ assaults bus drivers endure each year.
Physical assaults, spitting, and verbal assaults.
A-hole, the B word, and the C word, and the F and C word.
There are the punishing road conditions and the odd bus bursting into flames. And yet, OC Transpo expects to fill 100 new positions. It seems a well-paying union job with benefits kind of sells itself. Welcome back. 6 people were killed and dozens more injured in India today as protesters clashed with police. It was the deadliest day in 2 weeks. Standoffs like this played out in several parts of the country. Protesters throwing stones at police, police throwing them back and moving in with batons. And here, outside a major mosque in Delhi, thousands gathered after Friday prayers. They're angry because a new law granting citizenship for people fleeing religious persecution in other countries excludes Muslims.
Here goes. Through the windows. Got the video? Yep.
A scary moment caught on camera as 2 Carnival cruise ships collided in Mexico today. It happened at a port in Cozumel. Carnival says that one ship was maneuvering to dock when it sliced into another that already was docked. No one was seriously hurt. The company telling CNN it's assessing the damage but believes that both of these ships are still seaworthy.
Lift off. Release. Engine at full thrust.
And the launch of Boeing's new Starline capsule went off without a hitch today, but the unmanned spacecraft ran into trouble about half an hour later. Its timer didn't work properly and it burned too much fuel. That means it won't be able to dock at the International Space Station as planned. It will stay in orbit a few more days and then return to Earth. Boeing's trying to catch up to Elon Musk's SpaceX, which may carry 2 NASA astronauts to space as early as spring. Last week, one of America's greatest living storytellers officially signed on with Team Canada. John Irving invited us to his swearing-in ceremony. Then the acclaimed writer invited Rosemary to sit down for a chat to talk about becoming a Canuck and how he feels about the U.S. in this time of Trump.
John Irving is one of America's great writers, a literary phenomenon. His 14 books have made him a worldwide celebrity.
And the Oscar goes to John Irving for The Cider House Rule.
He's even won an Oscar for his storytelling.
Well, you must be trying to get me to reconsider my day job.
A master novelist, he's known for his layered storylines, zany characters, and for tackling some of the most divisive issues of our time.
I want to thank the Academy for this honor to a film on the abortion subject.
For years, he's been calling Canada his second home. Now, disenfranchised with the politics of Trump and what he calls an increasingly angry, ignorant, and misinformed American electorate, Irving recently, along with 83 others, chose to pledge allegiance to Canada.
Welcome to your citizenship ceremony.
To find out more about his decision on becoming a Canadian citizen, I met up with John Irving at his writing studio in Toronto. Thank you for having us, letting us come. Appreciate it.
Oh, more than welcome.
See, that's already very Canadian, that reaction.
I'm trying. I'm still learning.
How does it feel? I know you're married to a Canadian. You've been living here on and off for a long time, but does it feel different?
It does feel different, but it's mainly both gratifying and moving because it's something that I have thought about for a long time. It's a move kind of like the trajectory of my novels that takes a lot of homework and a lot of time. In fact, the process of becoming a Canadian citizen is very approximate to how long it takes me generally to write a novel.
But it's worth it, just like your novel.
No, I hope. Thank you for saying so. It certainly feels worth it.
Was there something about the current state of politics of the United States that was part of that decision making?
Not at all.
No.
I've said to my friends in the U.S. and here in Canada that this is a love story, not a political story. I'm here because I met and fell in love with a Canadian woman, and she's from here. Mm-hmm. And this is a very conscious choice. I want to live here. I love it here. If anything, I feel somewhat remiss to leave my birth country at a time when I feel so critical of it.
So how do you view your home country right now and the state it's in?
Well, I'm anxious, very anxious about what happens now. I'm very critical of my fellow Liberal Democrats. 6.5 million Democrats who voted for Mr. Obama in 2012 did not show up for Mrs. Clinton in 2016. I hold my fellow Democrats who would not support Mrs. Clinton accountable for the awful man in the White House. Mr. Trump had fewer votes in the 2016 election than Romney had in 2012, even fewer than McCain in 2008. He needed the help of Democrats who didn't vote in order to be elected. And so I'm very much on that bandwagon. I'm disgusted by the craven, sycophantic Republicans who have all, like sheep, lined up in lockstep with Mr. Trump. I wish all the Democratic candidates running for nomination would vow right now that they will 100% endorse whichever one of them wins the nomination. I'd like to hear that. Because that's what went wrong the last time. And Mr. Trump's narcissism, his vulgarity, his brazen awfulness maybe new.
Don't feel you have to hold back or anything. See, I knew you'd have things to say.
Well, of course I do. You know, I've also said here, I think it's arguable at my age if I will ever live here long enough to feel as comfortable being critical of my new country. I think that's a citizen's responsibility in every democracy. You have to participate.
Yes.
And in order to participate, you have to observe, you have to pay attention, you have to take the pains to learn. Keeping abreast and informed and engaged politically. And boy, does that ever begin with voting.
Does it make it harder watching the United States now, knowing that some of the very things you care so much about, women's rights, sexual equality, that those specific things are under attack?
Well, you're right to say that. I think the subject of sexual politics, especially of sexual hatred, sexual intolerance, not just intolerance of sexual minorities, though chiefly that, but intolerance of sexual differences. If people can treat women as if we are sexual minorities, imagine how much worse they feel entitled to treat gay men, lesbian women, and transgender men or women.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed.
Is there something you would want Canada to sort of watch out for? You know, one of our biggest challenges is living so close to the United States for all sorts of reasons. And there's always the possibility that what we see in the United States bleeds over. In fact, it probably has. So is there anything that you would want this country to be wary of?
I just think we all need to be aware that with our diversity and with our living in an increasingly global world, we must resist the opportunity to demonize and put down others. That's, I think, where the ugliness really comes. My old friend, Margaret Atwood, congratulated me on my citizenship, and she sent me a pair of Handmaid's Tale socks, which I'm very happy with.
Seems appropriate.
It seems very appropriate. You know.
You almost came very close to being able to vote in our election, but you missed it.
Yeah.
You would vote, though, in the next election. You look forward to it.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I want to get being here right.
What is your favorite thing about Canada? And you can't say your wife, because that's a given.
Okay. All right. That's
just to save you that one.
I get the sense here, not that people never get abused or ever get hurt, but when people are abused or do get hurt or treated unfairly, I get the sense that there is a kind of public outrage about that. And I think there should be.
Okay, let me end on this. People will kill me if I don't ask you if the book is almost done. Well, like, that's probably the worst question to ask an author.
I began this novel on Christmas Eve, 2016. If I were to finish it this Christmas Eve, which I won't, that would be the fastest novel I ever wrote.
Right.
So I'm hoping I will come to the end of this manuscript sometime in the end of the winter and early spring. That's my hope.
I'm not going to hold you to this.
No. Alas, I probably won't hold myself to it either, but that's my...
It already looks very long.
Yes, and I'm considering that. Yeah.
Mr. Irving, thank you. What a pleasure.
Thank you
nice.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time for a quick break. When we come back.
A year ago, I was sitting in my chair basically waiting to die.
He's an acclaimed Canadian scientist. Now he's patient one in an experimental treatment for alcohol addiction. That story's next. A man who spent his career researching how to save lives is now undergoing an experimental treatment to save his own. Dr. Frank Plummer worked abroad and in Canada on HIV, Ebola, and SARS. Now he's the test patient for researchers looking into whether deep brain stimulation can treat alcohol addiction. Karen Pauls looks at a story with a few twists.
These are the moments Dr. Frank Plummer will never take for granted again.
A year ago, I was sitting in my chair, basically waiting to die.
This story starts in the 1980s when Plummer was doing groundbreaking research in Kenya at the height of the HIV/AIDS crisis. Surrounded by illness and death, Plummer drank to deal with the stress.
In the latter years, I was drinking about 20 ounces of whiskey a day.
That continued when he took the top job here at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg. It's the only level 4 lab in the country dealing with the most deadly pathogens like Ebola. But sources inside the lab have told CBC News they believe current problems, including poor morale and leadership issues, stem from the days Plummer was in charge and drinking heavily outside of work hours. I hold Frank responsible for creating the toxic environment, one staff member says. Plummer denies that.
I don't think it affected my work. When I was in Kenya working on the project, directing it, I could honestly say I was the best in the world at that. And when I was running the lab in Winnipeg, I can honestly say I was the best in the world. Yeah, I look back and I have no regrets about anything.
Dr. Plummer.
Plummer's work garnered awards like the Order of Canada, but in 2012 he found out he had cirrhosis and end-stage liver disease. He got a liver transplant in 2014 but started drinking again. Last year, doctors told him his transplant was failing and he wasn't eligible for another one. So he became patient one in an experimental treatment.
How do you feel there, Frank?
Dr. Neer Lipsman implanted electrodes, trying to rewire a part of the brain connected to pleasure, rewards, and addictive behavior.
It's not a light switch. It's not something that is just turned on and patients no longer have the condition or no longer crave alcohol right away. It's more like a dimmer.
These days, if Plummer has a glass in his hand, it's usually filled with water. When he does drink whiskey, he stops at 2 or 3 glasses.
It's really changed everything, and I don't have the cravings that I used to for alcohol.
Instead of waiting to die, Plummer says he's now writing his memoirs, working on a vaccine for HIV, and enjoying life again. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Toronto.
We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, a Charlottetown school has a lovely new library thanks to a newspaper delivery job and a generous local woman. We'll tell you all about her in our moment. Jean McLean delivers close to 80 papers every morning, but she doesn't make any money because she donates every penny of every paycheck to a local school. She's even enlisted the help of her friends and clients to save bottles and cans for donations. Together, they've raised more than $15,000 in 5 years for a local school in need, and that money helped create a library for the kids. So naturally, it's our moment of the day.
Thank you. Oh, I'm going to get hugs and hugs and hugs. I'm standing right now in the library, and there's a lot of books that we've purchased. There's we've got new furniture for the kids to curl up in.
For her to wake up at 4 and delivering newspaper just to raise money for her school is extremely nice of her.
I have to get my walk in the morning, and my mantra in my life is 10 Ks a day equals 1 banana split. When I took the route on, I knew pretty quick that I was going to donate the money.
I love coming to the library. It's a very
calm place, really.
I really like that they have a really big selection of books.
I talk about this this thing that's around your heart that gets all warm and fuzzy, and I was ready to explode this morning.
That is a lot of work on a lot of early mornings for $15,000, but what a result. And she looked for different schools to donate to. The school she did donate to, St. Jean Elementary. The name, we think, a coincidence. That is The National for December the 20th. Good night.